Today, I would like to introduce you to our featured small business owner and NSBC member, Angela de Longchamps from Inspired Leadership. A very warm welcome to you, Angela.
Thanks, Leanne. It's great to be here.
Angela, so tell us more about your business. What is Inspired Leadership all about?
Inspired Leadership is a blended learning solution that takes the best of all forms of learning and integrates them into a holistic journey so that participants, instead of attending a 3-day class and literally drinking out of a fire hose, they actually are with us for a period of time, 4 months at a minimum, and we drip the learning so that we see real application and real change in their behavior, and the organization has significant impact because of it.
Sure.
So that's pretty much the summary of what the business product is that we then launch, and we build channel partners who take this concept, because it's very holistic, it includes all sorts of bits and pieces, to clients. So I'm building up a channel partner network all over the world who can then use this approach. We manage it and operate it from South Africa, and it's developed from South Africa, but it can go anywhere in the world.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I really like that approach, because I've definitely felt that fire hose kind of feeling when you just get thrown so much valuable information, but you don't have the capacity to absorb it all in one go. So that's a really interesting approach, and I'm sure it's quite effective. So Angela, tell me, why did you start this business?
I've actually sat in the chairs of all the people in this value chain. So from a learner to a facilitator, to a manager, to a program owner, program director, like all the different parts of this process. I've sat in those chairs and experienced frustrations and limiting my own impact. I've been that facilitator at the front of a classroom for 3 days, and I'm very good at this. I really love doing it, and I really find it very satisfying personally. But I know that it's the fire hose and very little gets applied. So when I left big corporate, which was 3 years ago now, and started consulting and moving across other businesses, it just became really obvious. Like it was inspired within me to put my life's work together in this approach. So it's really been the culmination of 20 years at the coalface, in the seat, and now developing something that solutions the problems that I experienced in both in corporate and even as a consultant or as a facilitator and trainer.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I can see it's been quite the journey. So Angela, tell me, what do you love most about this journey? What do you love the most about running your business?
It really is a day-by-day learning experience. I think I've probably loved the most around figuring out how the technology works and learning how to do things in a different way. And when it's a small business, you really are having to do everything. So that just means that the learning curve is massive. So that's been fascinating. The content that sits on the journey is not new to me, because that's what we've been doing for my whole career. But it's kind of packaging it, and how do you really net things down and giving it to people in bite sizes. And then the next piece is, well, how do we build the channel partners, and how do we do the engagement with them over different platforms, and how do we equip them? And so every day there's a new question that has to be answered, and the buck is really stopping with me.
Never a dull moment when you're running your business, I can imagine.
No, but like big challenges, big challenges. Because I mean, that's the thing. When you run your own business, you of course are the content expert, but then you have to become the marketing expert and the sales expert. And that's been probably the biggest growth and I think for many small businesses, that's the big challenge, is how do you market and sell, and building the skill set involved in marketing and selling your product, whatever that looks like. So that's a massive, and it continues to be a massive learning curve.
I can believe it. I can absolutely believe that. Okay, Angela, now tell me, besides that steep learning curve, just in terms of all the business functions that you've had to learn apart from, your field of expertise, what would you say one of the biggest lessons and life lessons you've learned on this business journey?
I think I learn this one every day, and I think I'm in it right now at this time of this interview, is really having to dig into resilience and grit. And this, for small businesses, I think anywhere in the world, but maybe even at this point, it's all businesses, is just kind of keeping on, even if it's tough. And when you don't seem to be making the progress that you want to be making, or it's slower than you think, it's that keeping on. And when you have setbacks, bouncing back. That is probably the biggest thing that I've had to deepen. I think I've always had it, but to be honest, life in corporate is way easier, way less of a strain than being out on the outside of big corporate. I actually wrote an article about it, being the insider versus the outsider of corporate and the relationship that we have, because it's such a thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, in corporates, you've got so much more to fall back on. You have one specific area of expertise that you function in, and now as a small business, everything is on you and you have to dig deep. It really is the case of get knocked down 7 times, get back up 8. So I think there's a lot of small businesses that can relate, and especially in this period that they're in, that grit is the determining factor, and not letting it keep you down, but figuring out how to get back up again. That was actually my next question, was all about how you persevere. I know that a great way to dig deep is always to reestablish what your why is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Angela, what would you say is your why?
My why has been clear for a long time, actually, and it was actually through facilitating, when we were facilitating courses around leadership and finding your purpose. And as a facilitator, obviously, I had to find what my purpose was and put it down on a piece of paper. And it suddenly struck me that, oh my gosh, this is the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, and it continues to be the reason today. But I fundamentally believe that better leaders make better people, and better people make better husbands, fathers, wives, sisters, friends, community members. So if I can help build the skills to lead yourself first and then others, then I'm really impacting the community at large, not just making a buck in a business, but really having a world impact. And for me, that's very purposeful.
Wow, I really love that. Better leaders make better people. And then let's go now. It's our final question, and I'd like to ask you, why do you think South Africans should support small businesses like yours now and beyond?
When I became an entrepreneur, I suddenly had a whole new lens put into my glasses, and I started supporting markets and anywhere where there were small businesses, because I realized how tough it is, and how, you know, you knock on a door and you think the door's going to be opened and it doesn't even squeak. I mean, it's like they don't even hear the knock. So I'm passionate about helping other small businesses, and I think you've. So we will probably help each other as small businesses. But the biggest challenge is there's a lot of lip service in big organizations towards small business. So taking the risk, it's partnering with, it's opening the door, it's returning the phone call. I think that's probably my most thing that really irritates me the most, is this just completely being ignored. So that's where I have to dig deep into that perseverance, the grit, the resilience, when you just simply get ignored. And that's big business. So I think everybody in South Africa, there is no such thing as big business. It's just a lot of small people working together for a common cause. So if each human being could take ownership for how they, in their own capacity, return phone calls, treat people kindly and with respect, and think, you never know, the shoe might fall on the other foot quite quickly, because you might be the next small business out there in South Africa tomorrow. So it really is, it's a mindset shift for everybody, not just when we blame big business, because we don't even know who that is. If you're in procurement, listen well. It's you we're talking about. If you're in HR, it's you we're talking about. It's not the business, it's you. It's a personal thing every day.
Yeah, and I mean, supporting doesn't mean going and spending money. It's like you said, it can be returning phone calls. It could be connecting people with other people that can help their business. It could be sharing, just sharing content that the small business has created. It can be just being kind and respectful to small business owners, and respecting the journey that they're on. I really like what you're saying there. So South Africa supports small businesses, whether you're in a big business, whether you are a small business, whether you are still at school or at university, change your mindset and realize that we are all connected and we all need each other in order to build a strong and prosperous South Africa. So Angela, do you have any closing words or closing thoughts?
I think our mantra and our mandated inspired leadership starts with leading yourself and knowing that leadership is not a position, it's an everyday choice. So just as we choose what to do with our time and our money, we also choose how we show up. So if maybe I can inspire anybody who's watching this to just be conscious about how they show up to the person next to them today, or the person across from them at the till, or the person who they answer the phone, and realize that you have to lead yourself first before you can influence others.
That's very wise words. Thank you so much, Angela. We really appreciate it. And South Africa, go and support small businesses.